Shepherds of Men is a secular movement started by 3 men of faith. We wholeheartedly believe that when we get the men right, we get the world right. We believe this because we believe that men are created and called to be leaders, and we believe there is an alarming deficit of leadership in our world today.
And although the three of us have come from drastically different backgrounds, our core principles have given us a unified voice that is needed now more than ever to pave the way for a fundamental change in our culture.
We are quite literally calling men to something great.
Welcome to the movement.
Yo, what is going on? Did that just bring the microphone?
Yes, you did.
Is that too loud? Let's start.
No.
Was that a little extra?
I know that somebody comes off the intro and be like, yo!
Somebody's eating their...
Wake the hell up.
Someone's eating their sausage McMuffin and their coffee right now.
Shit. There's your number one problem.
Oh,
Put
shit.
the damn sausage McMuffin down.
Someone's had a wreck.
Get your ass some granola or something.
Rank Studios about to get sued.
You awake now? You better
The
listen.
noises and volume are not the
and then he's
necessarily the noises and volume of Rank Studios.
He's already got his defense over there. He just read it to us earlier.
Oh,
You can't attack me. This is me.
So welcome everybody to the movement. It's great to be back. If you're not awake yet,
Oh,
then
we're still
you're-
going.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
still going.
let's
We
go
might
with
as
it.
well.
Let's
go.
I mean, O can chop it up if he wants to, but I
Like
just
what-
figured this is fun.
Like what Josh said, or JP said in the last episode. Fuck it, let's go.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck
exactly.
it, yeah.
I mean, that's I think
Two
that's the
ducks in
next
a bucket,
episode
fuck
actually.
The next episode.
What is it? Yeah, that was it. Right?
No,
It's close.
You
We'll
can't,
talk
you're
about
giving it
Keep
away.
Keep watching.
You're
and
giving it
listening.
away. Wait till next week.
Wait till next week. Hey, shout out to Rank Studios and O for the amazing studio setup. Now you guys saw it on the last episode. This is badass. If you can't get fired up about a damn helmet and an axe in the table, like actually in the table, something's wrong with you, man. You're on the wrong path. You're on the wrong path. I think we should probably get that SOM permanently ingrained in there, just so anybody else that sits here understands. You know,
It is
forefathers.
what it
Your
is.
forefathers.
It is what it is.
So I'm Cam. I'm here with my boys Wilson and
What's
JP.
Hey.
We had an amazing previous episode that was very impactful for us, and I know it was for you. So if you haven't listened to that one, go back and check it out. We are literally in the midst of just a really dynamic time in the life of Shepherds of Men and the movement and Men Reforged and all the other things that we're doing. It's just pretty awesome. You're ripping low. We ain't trying to rep nobody that ain't paying us.
Nobody pay me for this bottle of water. I'm about to drink it for free.
That's exactly right. Compliments of Rank Studio.
Compliments of the Rio Grande.
Yeah, exactly. So, check us out. Lots of great stuff happening. You can find us on social media platforms, all those great things. So tell your friends. As one thing I would like to say we haven't been saying enough. We've been getting a lot of great text messages and direct messages and those kinds of things, and we appreciate it big time. And we pray that if this is adding that much value to you and this is helping you that much, that you're telling other people about it. Like for your own good and for the good of those that you care about. Tell them. Dudes and ladies alike, but especially dudes, tell them about what this is doing for you. Tell them about the resources that are out there. Tell them about the 80-something episodes of this podcast that's live and available on YouTube where you can subscribe, and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those places. Go subscribe to it. Go follow us on social media. Go tell your friends. All those things help us continue to grow this platform that is helping you, that will then help others. Okay, just like be a part of it. Don't just view the movement. Be a part of the movement. We say it all the time, and we were talking about that last episode. I think like actually,
You have to change to be the change.
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. So
be the change.
so be the change that you want to see in the world,
You know
Gandhi.
what's cool? Whenever when we were in Texas and we were building out the Men Reforged platform and the website and everything that's coming. I remember, Brad, he owns the company that we were working with and stuff. He was like, "So do you guys have some testimonials that you guys want to put on here?"
Mm-hmm.
And we started going through some of the responses that people have sent to us about, just listening and stuff like that. And, to be honest with you, like that's freaking cool. Because that's the whole reason that we do what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we can impact other men to make decisions that they may not have made originally by themselves, to where they become self-sustaining, self-thinking producers in society that are happy and fulfilled in what they're doing, man, dude, there ain't nothing better than that. I don't care if I don't make another dime for the rest of my life. If I can make an impact like that,
Yep.
That's worth it to me.
Oh, dude, it is.
It's
And
exciting to
because-
see them all and like review them, you know, and then seeing them on the new site that's coming out. It's pretty pimping.
Yeah.
I
Well,
like it.
and then to think that, as we talk about all the time, like how, what an integral part of the family unit that the man is, like how important that role is. So to understand that person is being impacted, but because that person is being impacted and they're making new habits in their life and making new decisions and creating new habits and becoming something better than they were, that is directly impacting their wife and their kids and their community, you know, and the ripple effect from it is unbelievable. And then it becomes pretty humbling to think that we were called to this.
Yep.
Right. And that's not an arrogant thing at all. We were called to this. It'd be irresponsible for us to not participate.
Well, I'm really excited about being that voice that doesn't tiptoe around that shit.
Mhm.
Because for some odd reason in today's society, you tiptoe around it like the man is the head of the family. Oh,
Yeah.
well, you can't say that. No, bullshit. Bullshit. A man that is centered in core principles, and a man that is a driver of his family and a leader of his family is exactly where he was designed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I do
Well,
not.
you might offend the woman. You wouldn't offend my woman.
No, I'm gonna
She's
tell you
offended
right now,
by the
Most
opposite.
women want that.
one of the things that I saw that's been kind of a trend that's here recently that was really really kind of cool to see was and it was a TikTok thing that I saw that it was like you know as an independent woman you don't need no man and stuff like that and the girl that was sitting on there looked at it for a minute and then she went, no, you got it wrong. You may not need a man, but my man always comes through.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the biggest difference.
You know, go ahead, finish your thought.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that's the biggest difference. We talked about this in a lot of cases. Feminism and all this bullshit about how masculinity is a bad thing and stuff like that wasn't necessarily created by women. It was created by men that were not sufficient.
Right.
Men that were not fulfilling their duties as a man.
And then as we were talking about offline, as we just became okay with like this, just like pandered to all this bullshit, you know, to make everybody feel good.
Right.
You know, like let's just be okay with mediocrity and weak-kneed, limp-wristed, pussified, feministic assholes. It's so disgusting to me.
It is.
And I know that's offensive to people, and I'm so glad.
That was
It's
so
so
insensitive.
freaking
That was
disgusting because
so
America
insensitive.
is like, we are literally being Mexico was making fun of America. Fucking Mexico. Like, listen, if you're, I'm not putting it down, but let's just call it what it is. When it comes to world powers,
Yeah.
you know, Mexico should not be making fun of America.
Mm-mm.
But I guess it was the U.S. men's national team, soccer team. Like, Mexican fans were like screaming gay slurs at them, you know? Like, and honestly,
That's what you get.
Dude,
That's what you asked
that's
for.
what you asked for.
That is
That's what you asked for.
exactly what you asked for.
You know, and I love my country. I still believe this is the greatest country in the world.
Amen.
But this is what society as a whole in
Then-
the United States has asked for.
Let me rephrase that. The people that are offended by that is what you asked for.
Yep.
That's what you created.
Mhm.
That's the fact of the matter. It's like being, like we talk about men all the time, like being a deadbeat man in your house that is lazy or whatever it may be, and somebody making comments to you and you getting offended. You earned it.
Yep.
That's why you're
Yep.
offended, because you earned it.
That's exactly right.
But anyway, sorry. So
Well, no, this is great. You know what's funny though is you were talking about the TikTok when the girl saying something, whatever she said, and I was just thinking how contradictory this episode. We're going to talk about like what voice are you listening to? You know, what voices are you listening to? It is a choice. It really is, and sometimes that choice is hard, especially in today's society. If you want to have a backbone and you want to be a what we believe is a real man, have true masculinity, it's crazy that like actually being what you're supposed to be is hard to do right now as a man. Like, it is literally the most attacked thing. One of the most attacked things. It's like, it's way easier to be a transgendered, they, them, homosexual. I don't even know. Like, there's all these things that people create. Like, just pull up a list of whatever. It's easier to be all those things than it is to just be yourself.
We live in the land of the offended. If you're not offended, you must be the offender.
Exactly right. Or the breeder.
I like that.
I like that.
No. We no longer identify that we identify by we are the breeders.
We actually populate the planet.
Yep. And we stole that
Thanks,
from
O.
the Rank Studios.
Yes, exactly.
He's actually getting a plaque made that said, I am a breeder.
I'm a breeder. We ain't talking
That's a
puppies
shirt.
over here. No, but what I was thinking about is how, like, and I've talked about this for years, even before this became like a thing. where as crazy it is in the last couple of years. But what's the damn? I can't stand her so much. Can't stand her. What's her name? Beyonce.
Oh yeah. So
What was the band? Not the band, but the little music group. Destiny's Child. Destiny's Child. Okay. Literally, this is just a microcosm. Literally. Listen.
I need you to listen to me.
Listen to me. This is a microcosm of our world right now, and this is 15 years ago, maybe. Whenever their Independent Woman, like that was their first album, big album, whatever. Same album. Independent Woman. It's like independent, like the whole song is about being an independent woman on the same album. Can you pay my bills? Can you pay the telephone bills?
Yeah.
I don't want a man that can't pay my bills.
Yeah.
As O would say, the fuck? Like, which one is it? Right? I mean, seriously, like it's, and I know that's a silly example, but it's accurate.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally like which, and this is, and that now, a decade and a half down the line, or how long it's been, she is like. She has a voice, like, and I don't mean just like she can sing. She can. She is very talented, but she has a platform, and people listen to her.
Yep.
And she's been contradictory since day one.
Right.
You know, and that's as we were having. I was gonna do this episode a little differently than this, a little more specific, I think, towards men understanding how they identify themselves, and I don't mean by their pronoun. I mean by their life. Like, are you identified by your career or by who you are as a husband and a father and a leader in your community? But I think that goes to what voices you listen to, because the offline conversation we were having was about those kinds of things. And so it made me want to change kind of the direction of this as a whole, but it's just, it has to be intentional. Number one, we were having conversations about family members, myself included, that like, you just wonder like how their brain works the way it works, like, or doesn't work the way it doesn't work. And it's amazing because they're good people. They got a good heart. There's nothing, and you just go, I just think of Scooby-Doo. Huh? Yeah. Like, I don't know. How is this? How did this happen?
Right.
How did this happen? And it's just wild, but it all goes back to, what are you putting in, or what are you allowing to soak into your life?
Mm-hmm. That's a choice.
And, last episode we talked about little daily things, but even if you're unintentional, then it's the weeds come up,
Dude, it's in the music you listen to. It's in the videos, the movies, the TikTok, the social media. Like, social media now is programmed to, like, every time you click on something, it's going to say, oh, you like that, so we're going to give you some more. Well, if you get ingrained in those bad habits of listening to the bad voices, now you're going to have a whole platform that's all about giving you negative
programming and reinforcing.
Yeah, and it's your subconscious mind, man.
And what do you
tolerate? Taking it all in.
I mean, what do you tolerate with that? Like, that's where things have really started to, aggravate me a little bit with the way that society has gone. Is we have beat up the people that have good principles and morals about them, and you can sit here and try to turn that however you want to turn that. Oh, well, you're a middle-aged white guy, and your principles are yours and stuff. And the fact of the matter is, like, let's be honest. A lot of this silly bullshit that's going on is only going on because it's been tolerated by the people who actually are the producers in this country.
Yeah.
The people who are actually doing things that are making impacts, people that actually live in their families and make impacts and lead their families and stuff like that, and not all this other just garbage that's out there, man. And that's the thing. And it's like having a child, right? Like, you allow that child to do a certain amount of stuff, and the more you tolerate, the more they become in a certain way. Mm-hmm. The less you tolerate, the more they become a certain way.
Yep.
Your tolerance level has a lot to do with it. And I personally, this is a call to all men out there. It's time to stop tolerating the bullshit.
Yep.
It's time to stop tolerating the bullshit when it comes to society, about what our kids are being exposed to and stuff like that. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't have a problem with an individual making a choice for themselves on what they want to do with their life. If you want to do something that is just like you, then whatever, man, just do you. I don't think people need to be persecuted. If you want to believe in Islam, you want to believe in Christianity, you want to be gay, you want to be straight, whatever it is, shouldn't be persecuted for that. But there's also got to be a line that you draw at some point to say, hey, Okay, if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. But we were designed biologically for a man and a woman to procreate, to continue on with populating the earth. If you decide that is not the direction you want to go, then you go that direction. That's fine. But because you don't go that direction, that where things were designed to be, doesn't mean the rest of society should conform to you being an outlier there.
You should be just as cool with us not being cool with that as we are cool with you being cool with it. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I agree. It's totally clear as mud.
That's like somebody coming out, and this is what's funny, is this would be ridiculous, and I'm not necessarily trying to compare the two, but that'd be like somebody coming out saying, hey, you know what? I think 18 is too old.
Yeah.
We should allow, some adult males to fornicate with younger women. Or adult women to fornicate with younger men.
I mean, that's
stuff, because we don't like that. Like, so now we're gonna drop that age down a little bit. Like we should do that. Like, where does the fucking line drop?
Dude, they're already they're already doing that.
They're already trying that.
Well, they're trying to say the age of consent's 12.
So that's
ridiculous.
That's
evil, is what that is.
That's evil.
That's pure evil.
Well, and that's where I start to get into like the mindset of like, at some point you have to stop tolerating shit. When men, and here's Jordan Peterson did an awesome layout on this, and I'm not even going to attempt to try to touch what he did. But he made the comment that, like, shit doesn't go bad because men are bad. Shit goes bad because men don't do shit.
Yeah.
When men step aside, which they have done in society today, when men step aside and start to tolerate anything that goes on, the chicken coop goes crazy.
Yep.
And that's in any society. That's in nature.
Yep.
You look at a group of wolves. If there's no alpha, they all are very sporadic and do whatever they want to do. Leadership will carry a group. Leadership will determine the trajectory of any group. If you see a group that's just chaotic and stuff, you can almost guarantee there's no leader there.
Well, look at a corporate situation. If you don't have leadership in a corporation, it fails.
Yep.
Inevitably, I don't care how powerful they were. I don't care how on top of the world they are at one point. If you lack leadership, it will not last, and it will die and go bankrupt. That is, again, a microcosm. And yes, that could be female leadership within that corporation, but 100%. We believe that men are called to be leaders.
Right.
So in society as a whole, in humanity, the men are designed to be leaders. That doesn't mean women can't also be leaders in their roles. We don't really need to apologize for that stuff all the time. We're not apologizing for it.
No.
We're calling men to action. We're calling men to be what they're called to be. And you are called to be a leader. I don't care if you feel like that or not. You're called to be a leader. And if you don't choose to become the leader you're supposed to be, society hurts for it. Society is damaged for it.
And good leaders do not tolerate bullshit.
Yeah.
Like any good leadership that you'll ever see does not tolerate bullshit. But they're respected within their group because as a good leader, they understand that their people need to be taken care of. But they also create boundaries within, hey, look, we're not going to be an asshole. It's just like raising kids, man. I'm telling you. Like, there's a certain level of my kids, I want to discover themselves. I want my kids to have the ability to go out and learn things and stuff like that. But there is also a certain level of guardrails that I put up as a father that we will not act out in certain ways. Mm-hmm. You explore, you learn yourself, like whatever you need to do. And I want to give you enough rope to hang yourself. But the first time you yell at your fucking mom, it's on, dude. Yep. There are guardrails involved in.
Well, and that sounds silly, like the yelling. Oh well, maybe they're having a bad day. The thing is, there's somebody out there going, "It's okay to yell at your mom if you were feeling bad." No, it's not fucking okay. No. Now, I don't know why we're talking so much about TikTok, but I guess we've seen some good ones recently. But yes. I do not like the prank stuff. I really don't. I think like I see these couples pranking each other on TikTok, and I'm like, there's just something's wrong there. So like there's a disrespect, there's a lack of I don't know what it is. Something ain't right. You know, like it's one thing if it's a little cute little thing or whatever, but like there's some of them that's just like it's too far.
There's a difference between having fun and
just being, straight up de-edifying.
There it is. That's de-edification.
But and kudos, and the reason I think about this is because this man, like his wife was pranking him. And she was acting like she was on the phone with his mom, and the thing says, me calling his mom a bitch, watch his reaction. He thinks I'm on the phone with his mom. So she's like, okay, we're going to meet you for lunch. She's like, no, what do you mean? I said 2:00. You know what? This is why I'm sick, because you act like a bitch. And, dude, he lost his mind. He said, whoa, that's my mom you're talking to.
Yeah.
Dude, he snatched the phone, and he let her have it. He was like, I don't give a fuck. That is my mother.
Yeah.
And he was very eloquent in his conversation, but he was very clear. Then there was a boundary, and she was laughing because she knew she was kidding, but that dude was not laughing.
No.
He was like, that is, of course he thought it was real. And even after the fact, I felt like he was kind of like, that's not something we don't do that, and
we joke about pie.
Yeah, we don't joke about my mama. We don't joke about my mama. We talk about a lot of stuff, not my mama. But listen, the truth is, like, I respect the heck out of that dude, because there are things like, listen, me and my mother are very different, and we disagree on a lot. And to be honest with you, the last year and a half has been pretty challenging for our relationship, because we used to be really tight, and we're not as tight as we used to be, and it's kind of sad. We'll get back to that, but this is just a thing, But when it comes down to it, biblically, as a Christian, I am called to respect my parents and love my parents.
Mm-hmm.
I have to check myself on that with my wife, because her dad was kind of a deadbeat dad when he wasn't around when she was young and growing up, and now he's around more, and I see her seeking his time or his attention, and I'm like, why? Because God didn't ever do anything for you. And I have to remind myself, she's supposed to. She's supposed to look out for her dad. She's supposed to respect her dad because it's her father. Now he can lose that respect by choices he makes, but ultimately, that's one of those boundaries. That's one of those things where, like, the default should be, and I've seen you do this with your dad. The default should be, I'm trying to show respect for my parents.
Yeah.
And there should, like, dude, my boys, if they ever get a little, even the little one, and people are so easy to let the little ones off.
No,
because they're little.
They know what the
hell they're doing. And those first 4 or 5 years, we were talking about Jordan Peterson earlier. Those first 4 or 5 years are the most important. Clinical psychologists will tell you that the first 4 or 5 years, the most important. I will speak up if Cash or Owen or especially Caden at his age, you ever get a little, I will flat out, I'll be in the other end of the house, and if I hear it, I'm like, boy, you better watch your tone.
Yep.
And I went in there on one of them one night. I mean, I was hot because I won't even tell you which one it was, but they kind of raised their voice to a level, and I came from the other side of the house and busted in the door. I said, if I ever hear you talking to your mother like that again, it'll be the last damn time you ever do it. Yeah. And there was a very clear boundary there.
Right.
I mean, it was understood. You can see it in the eyes. Like, it was understood. I have never seen him do that before. I've never seen him move that fast. Yeah. But I guarantee you, and I'm telling that story because as an example, I guarantee you there's a dude out there, because I see it. I see it on social media. I see it on TV and movies. There's a dude out there that is letting their kid talk to his wife like that in a certain way, and they don't want to be inconvenienced by correcting them. Or they don't want to have the confrontation or whatever.
No.
And they're not setting that boundary for that young man or that young woman to understand you respect your mother.
That's where they're missing it, man.
And dude, and as a man, you're failing.
Yep.
You are failing if you let your kids talk to your wife a certain or talk to you a certain way.
That's why your wife doesn't have any respect for you.
Yeah. That's the other side of it. She sees it.
Yeah.
She sees you not doing it.
Or the kid sees how you act to your wife too. Because sometimes you could be that way too. But I mean, my son, like, he'll get influenced by who he's around, and then I correct him, and I correct it in front of the parents, like, of the kid that's influencing my kid. So, hey, just because they act that way doesn't mean that you act that way. You know who you are. Who are you? I'm Wilson.
Who are you?
Yeah, that's not how we act. Oh, I had to get on to him just today because of the tone. I'm like, whoa. I know he was trying to be louder, but he had a tone to go with the loud. And I'm like, no.
And if you go back to, what voices you're listening to, like, obviously as a kid, you're kind of forced to a degree to listen to your parents because, you live in their home and they provide for you and those kinds of, hopefully they do. As you mature into adulthood, then you have a responsibility of choosing who you're going to listen to even more. Like, when you're out on your own, it's like you don't have a parent there that's directing you anymore, but you still are deciding. So at that point it comes, now listen, again, don't misunderstand this message. If your dad or mother, for that matter, is a loser and they do not have your best interest at heart and they really could harm you by their input, then you need to know that and don't listen to them.
Separate.
Right? You need to decide this is not, yes, you should still respect them, but you can respect them from a distance.
Yep.
You know, and figure out how to put yourself in a better situation. You know, especially as you get into the teenage years and older. So don't think that, you know, just because he's your dad, if he's an alcoholic, abusive asshole, no, you don't. You need to get away from that. But as you get older, it's the same mentality of, who do I want speaking into me? Do I want somebody that's, you know, this guy that O was joking about, who just can't, I mean, nowadays, I can't even keep up with all the phobic stuff. I can't even keep up. I don't even know what, I know for a fact I offend just about everybody, and there's got to be some kind of adjective for everything I do, because I'm so, like, more old school. Like, I'm just like, when we had less words that we made up to describe people, I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
You know? To be honest, though, I mean, you're not, if you have boundaries, you are offensive. Right? Because somebody's going to get their pussy hurt. I mean, somebody's going to get their feelings hurt.
No, daddy, my pussy hurt.
Oh, daddy, my pussy hurt. That's another TikTok reference if you haven't seen that one.
Gosh. Don't spend all day on TikTok. It's such
but so that's
mind-numbing nonsense.
And that's the thing, you know, and that's what people talk about, you know, you're taking away the freedom of other people and stuff like that. No, the fact of the matter is, you still are a free individual to do what you feel like you need to do or what you want to do in life. The difference is, boundaries create consequences that are associated with the choices you make. You still have the freedom to make a choice however you want to. Any man that wants to can come up and kiss my wife, and they can freely accept a fist to their fucking face. Like,
right.
That's the fact of the matter. I'm not taking away there's a boundary there, though. And that's where the consequences step in. Oh. Within the boundaries, my kids act and do freely what they feel like they need to do to learn and explore and do things like that. When they step outside the boundaries, consequences ensue. Men were created to create boundaries. I'm not saying that women can't, but men, I believe that is one of their biggest, their biggest, and I honestly just me, but I think that's one of the reasons that God created the deeper voice, the more masculine approach, the stronger stern. You look at and tell me there's not a difference between the way that a child looks at their father and the way that a child looks at their mother. And it's different. And it's not any disrespectful in either way, or one's better than the other. They're both needed. It's almost like it was created that way, like they were supposed to be together. But the fact of the matter
third
is,
base or home run.
home run. But the fact of the matter is, that was the man's place. And I'm not saying to be the disciplinary, because I think a woman can be the disciplinary as well, but a man was made to create boundaries within the family, and that's something that obviously he discusses with his wife and things of that nature for the household. Because I don't just come in and say, this is the way shit's going to be, and not talk to my wife. And
that's what people miss, because when you say that, so many people hear that second part.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm a pig.
And you know why they hear that? You know why they hear that? Because that's the way they've been programmed.
But the difference is, I am with a very strong woman. The woman that I'm with would never be with a weak ass dude.
Yeah.
Right.
She would prefer to, and that's not an edification to me. That's just stating the facts. Like, I can be a man because my wife is a strong woman. The problem is, a lot of men are with strong women and they can't be a man. So she steps up and does what she needs to do. And then all of a sudden, now this guy's standing on the sidelines and no longer can hold a boundary. Like, because now your kids don't respect you anymore, or your wife doesn't respect you anymore and stuff. But that's one of the things that just kills me. Cause like you have to draw a line somewhere. If I wanted to go cheat on a test to get better grades, I can do that. I can obviously go cheat on a test and do better. Does it make it right because I can do it? No, it doesn't. That's like a lot of this silly shit that goes on. Does it make it right because you decide that this is something that you want to do? No, not necessarily. I mean, there's a certain moral compass that you got to live by.
Well, and that's what we've erased, or they've tried to erase.
That's what you vilified.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because who are you to tell somebody they can't cheat? No. This is the best one. He did not deserve to be arrested, nor did he deserve to be shot. He was stealing stuff because he needed it.
Yeah.
You should have just let him have
it. Can you run that by me? He needed it?
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah, they have these things called jobs.
Yeah.
You can get one of those too. And apparently a lot of people could use some employees right now.
But that's what I'm talking about with boundaries.
Yeah.
That's another good example of where people are just inching the boundaries. And the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of, and we're just speaking to men in general, because that's kind of what this is.
R1.
Yeah, but that's the fact of the matter. You allow that boundary to be pushed. Same thing with your kids. You allow the boundary to be pushed, and before you know it, you've got some kind of chaotic, weird bullshit going on where somebody can step into your house and steal your shit, and you can't do anything about it because they needed that Xbox.
Yeah.
It was more important for them to have that Xbox than it was for you to have that Xbox.
So the person who said that, so if that the tables were reversed and they stole whatever value you might have, in your mindset, I doubt you have anything. But if they did that to you, is that right? I guarantee you that same person that made that accusation, it was done to them.
No, that goes back to the
probably
independent woman that needs her bills paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
it's dumb.
It's just whatever
Contradiction.
fits.
So, and that's another side of it, right? So the contradiction.
Well,
it's mind blowing, right?
What I don't understand is how someone, like, you're in a leadership role and they expect you to be perfect. Dude, we're all humans. But when was the last person that was perfect on this planet that you guys remember? Nobody. But there was one, and he gave us a great example to live by. And you should. But at the same time, it's like, why the hell are you going to go and judge someone who you're not even as equal or even better than the person you're judging? You have more shit in your closet than they do. And you're judging that individual for something by just being normal.
What is it? Let he who does not sin cast the first stone.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I've had these in-depth conversations with these left-wingers who think that they...
Oh, my God. Did you just name drop?
Hell yeah. Fucking pussies. But anyway, they go and say
I
all
need to
this
put some
bullshit.
boundaries on your language.
I don't care. Get offended. It's okay.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, nothing happens. You're offended. Whoop-dee.
Well,
you're going to go to sleep and forget about
happens.
this.
Less good happens.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it just, you see this and you go, okay, so you say you could do better? You can actually tell me that you're better than that person? What the fuck?
No, there's never that. It's never taking action on it. It's just bitching about it. And I don't want us to sound like we're just bitching. Maybe we are a little bit because we get frustrated with these things, but ultimately it's our role to be an example, and to teach our next generation the best that we know how to have those boundaries and to listen to the right voices, as we started with. Like how do you okay, so as a father, as a husband, we can create a boundary in our household, but if you're really looking out for the long-term success of your children, how do you ensure that they create those boundaries for themselves later in life? That's where you come into teaching a mentality and who should you be listening to? What should you be listening to? And by that, I mean, like, I believe, at least for a while, that there is something inside you, a conscience, maybe spirit, whatever, that knows right and wrong, that knows that's kind of fucked up. Like, how could you be a girl if you're a boy? How could you be a boy if you're a girl? Like, that doesn't even make sense. But I think what happens is you keep listening to the voice that tells you, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's okay. Or you can be a parakeet, whatever you want to be. You can be whatever,
or you vilify it enough to where those people won't speak up because they're scared.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, but I think at least at the beginning, there's there's something there that knows in your spirit, that this is wrong or this is not right, or the voice that's speaking to me loudest is off track, but you choose not to do anything about it. And then it wears down. It wears you down, or you continue to get another voice that's very similar to that, and you just bring. And at some point, the noise from all this bullshit has completely drowned out reality. It's completely drowned out truth.
Oh,
and it goes back to what we talked about in the previous episode where we said there's always a war going on.
Always.
And you think you're not in a war and you're not losing, when really, in reality, when the truth is drowned out, you're right where the enemy wanted you. I mean, that's it, So going back to what I was starting this piece on is, I want to make sure that with my kids, I'm not only a positive voice for their life now, when I have a lot of influence in their life, and I set boundaries for them now, because I want to help them recognize what a good voice is and what a bad voice is. I want them to be able to discern for themselves what is positive, not reinforcement, positive input, negative input. You know, I want them to be able to watch something or listen to something and go, something ain't right about that.
Right.
You know, and I think that comes down to being very intentional, being very present. You know, I told you guys one of the things that I was really wanting to talk about on this was, you know, how a man identifies himself, and it's so easy for guys to go, you know, when guys talk to each other, it's like, oh, hey, it's good to meet you. You know, what do you do? And the first thing we do is, well, I'm an engineer, and da 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 da. And really, I'm reading a book by Vodi Bakum. It's called Family Shepherds, which there's obvious reasons I picked it up. And man, it's so good. And if you don't follow Vodi Bakum, he's a pretty impressive guy. He just released another book called Fault Lines that Paul's reading, and he said it was really good too. But he talks about, you know, it's literally like your career and your job is like not even in the top 5 of important things that you should identify yourself as, you know, or that you should, you know, be recognized as, you know. And it's like we've gotten away from, you know, what men should really be. Say if somebody says, dude, what do you do? It's like, well, the number one thing I do is, and this would be different for everybody depending on your spiritual beliefs, but the number one thing is I'm a child of God. You know, I grow my relationship with my Creator every day. You know, the other thing that's really important to me is how much I bring joy and happiness into my wife's life, and I serve her. You know, and then another thing that's really important is how much I lead my children and raise my children to be good men and women in society. You know, and you hadn't even got to the damn job yet.
Nope.
All the job does is fund all the things that you're supposed to do.
Yep.
Right? Now, we spend a lot of our time doing that, unfortunately, sometimes. And if, you know, that's another topic for another day. But man, it hit me like a ton of bricks the other day, because over the last couple of years, we have made some changes in our own household to make sure that the things that were actually important,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that we were very intentional about them. Now, we still have to create income, and we still have a lifestyle that we want to live. But I am the kind of guy, and maybe this relates, and I'm going, you know, down a rabbit hole a little bit. I'm the kind of person that if I am not producing, and I'm not reaching another level, I can tend to go like, I got to win some more in this area. And but I'm like most people where I go, I want to win some more in business or in my bank account or in my, not necessarily material possessions, but lifestyle, you know, and those kinds of things. And I am really just now coming to really good terms with, honestly, none of that shit matters. Like I want my kids to remember that I was around a lot, and that I was intentional about talking to them when I was around, and that I was doing things, that I was living life with them and being their father and guiding them and directing them and teaching them how to be a man. You know, I want my wife to, she's away from me right now. I want my wife to miss me when I'm not there because I complete her like I should, you know? And all that matters way more than what my truck looks like, you know, and how big my house is, you know. I still want to do those things, but I think they should be secondary to, not even secondary, but somewhere on the list down from the stuff that is really what I'm called to do. And we did an episode a long time ago is talking about your purpose is whispering.
Yes.
And I do believe that people are called to do something. Like, we're called to do this. We're called to the movement and Shepherds of Men and Men Reforged. But not if it comes with the risk of hindering our family and our role in our own household.
Yep.
The number one role we play is in our house.
I think a lot of people get stuck in that trap because it's so much easier to quantify what you do in your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what materialistic things that you have and stuff, because in a consumer-based society, your power is based off the income that you have, right? The more money you make, the more important you are. The more money you make, the more successful you are. You know, the more material things you have, the cooler you are. You know, and from an outside, very shallow perspective, there's, you know, a lot of truth behind that. But as we've seen, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates have both just recently gone through divorces. That money didn't save them.
Nope.
You know, and here's the thing, and this is what kind of sucks. In my opinion, this is something that I try to be very conscious about what I do, especially with other men. When I see other men winning in other arenas and stuff like that, is edifying those guys for that. You know, I'm told more often, man, you're doing so great in your career and like you've done so well and stuff like that and blah blah blah, and I hear it a lot. You know, you guys are doing good, you got a nice house, you got opportunities, you know, other investments and things of that nature and blah blah blah. And I mean, even, you know, with the Shepherds of Men stuff that we're doing and everything. But you know how often I hear, man, you're an awesome dad. Nowhere near as much.
Not as much. Yep.
And it doesn't matter how much I do. It's not a common edifiable thing for the normal public.
Yep.
And that's why I try to, as much as I can, and one of the best things in the world, listen to this. If you know another guy that is a great father, I don't care what his career is, I don't care how much money he makes, whatever it is, spends a lot of time. I've got a neighbor that is an unbelievable dad, great guy, good provider for his family, awesome husband, stuff like that. Just an awesome dude. Every time I get the chance, I talk to his kids and go, dude, your dad's awesome. Your dad is a cool dad, man. You got a good dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I edify him to those kids on a regular basis. And he needs to hear that as well.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of dads and a lot of husbands out there that need to hear shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're an awesome dad. Because then we start to place emphasis and priority in things that matter with the future of our country and what's going on. And not to get too fucking deep in that, because that's really deep.
No, that's good shit. Because you were saying what voices are you listening to, but are you being the voice?
Well,
are you being that voice that other people need to hear? Because so many people are so afraid to say the wrong thing or whatever, they don't say anything. And that's worse, because what if that was that one comment that he overheard you speak to the kids, made him, I would say it edified him in a sense to where he goes, yeah, I am a good dad. But also, it could also said, I want to live up to that expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Because your voice is causing him to push forward and say, hey, I want to be more, and I want to actually be what you're saying that I am.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Well, yeah, you're
speaking
on.
Life into people.
Spot on. And it, a good litmus test for what voices you should be listening to is, if you well up when you hear somebody edify you in a certain area, that's a good voice. Like, if somebody is edifying you for your, not that it's bad, it's not negative that somebody says you're great at your job and you're great at your career, you're doing great financially. That's cool. But honestly, I don't like if somebody goes, man, you're really crushing it in business. I'm like, yeah. And I mean, I want to. If I'm going to do it, I want to do it big and I want to do it right and I want to succeed at it. Otherwise, why would I do it? And why would I take the time away that I do take away unless I had a goal to accomplish something significant? But it doesn't get me. Like, it doesn't give me goosebumps. Now, if somebody says, or I overhear even in this situation, or if somebody says it directly, man, you're a fantastic father. Like, I've seen the way you are with your kids, and like, it's really special, dude. That gets me ticking. Like that, because I know that matters.
Right.
Like, I can make money doing anything.
Right.
Like, truthfully. And if you think you can't, you're stupid. There's so much money out there. Like, you just got to apply yourself. And as we were saying earlier, like, our next generation, like, they can go half speed and they're going to be able to dominate just because of how weak our society has gotten. So, not that that's a good thing. I wish they had more of a challenge, frankly. I don't want to get off track. But if the voice is, I know, but the voice is, what is, and if you're listening to a voice that is constantly just talking about how awesome you're doing at work, and they never ask you, how's your marriage, man? How's your wife?
Mm.
That might like that. You need to start registering. Like, is that really a positive voice in my life? If all they're doing is edifying my job or my material things or whatever.
Yep.
And if you got somebody over here that recognizes that you're doing good things in your career or whatever, but they are more concerned about your home life, and it's like, man, you're making some great decisions with your wife, with your marriage. Like, now you can go, I might not necessarily need to remove this person completely from my life. I just might need to care less about what they say, and this person over here might be pretty wise, and I should probably just listen to him. And I'll give you a real quick example, because this is a little vulnerable, and I think that's probably why we'll make it important. But, not that long ago, my wife and I were going through challenges. I know that probably never happens in anybody else's marriage.
Never.
I'm sure everybody else is perfect, but we were going through some things that we had to work through, and frankly, it's some of it was her and some of it was me. A lot of it was probably me. We are equal opportunity fuck ups. So
that was a really good out. Right
yeah. So, but some of the strain and stress that was there was because of some business endeavors, and some things we just did not see eye to eye. And truthfully, where my heart was on those things was in the right place, but I didn't really understand how I was not fully grasping how it was affecting the whole family. And so we decided, our marriage is important. We want to get some other input on this. And so we met with our pastor in a counseling kind of environment a few times because we want to, get some other input on it. And so through that, we made some changes and decisions, and I made some big changes for me. Some pretty major decisions from a career and business standpoint that I am 100% happy about, just so we're clear. Like it sucked going through it, but it was the right decision, and I've never been more convinced about that. But my pastor, not long, probably about a year after that, to help you understand what a good voice will say to you, is he said, we were talking about something else, and I said something like, well, you know that I'm no longer pursuing business in this arena. He's like, yeah, didn't miss a beat. He's like, yeah, but you're still married, though. Didn't miss a beat.
Yep.
He knew what was more important.
Yep.
Right.
Like, he didn't give and this is my pastor, he didn't give two shits about what business I was pursuing.
It's called recalibration.
Yeah, exactly
He
right.
just recalibrated you right there.
100%. And I was like, you're right, dude. Like,
Yep.
why was I even concerned about making the decision?
Yep.
Well, and here's one thing I've been thinking as of we're listening or I'm listening to you guys talk about the voices that you listen to.
What are you trying to say, Chris? Was that a subtle shot?
I'm
You guys
really-
talk a
JP
lot.
for talking
I'm
too
really
much?
not sure what.
I can't hear what you're saying.
Well,
Gotta get a
not
string.
to say that.
Are you saying
But-
Cam talks a lot?
Y'all both talk a lot. What the hell?
It's a podcast. What else are you
No, I
supposed to
know, I know. We're gonna be quiet, listening to the crickets chirp. No, but what
gonna
I
be
was
hard
thinking
for
of
me.
is that the people who do speak into you. So, like for example, here's what I was thinking. It's like, so my mom will say, "Hey, you're a great father," and that doesn't. I mean, that means something, but it doesn't hit me as much as someone who is a great father who is telling me that I'm a great father.
Yeah,
Because here's the reason: she doesn't have she had a great father, but her husband is not a great husband. He's getting better, but at the same time, same thing. If she said I'm a great husband, I would understand that. I know where she's coming from, and she's not necessarily envious, but she's proud that I chose to be a better man than who she chose. So you got to think about who is giving you that voice at the same time, edifying you and telling you you're doing great in certain things, because sometimes they might be coming from a perspective of, I wish I had that, or I wish that was in my life, and you're being a great example, and that's great too. I hope I'm coming off right.
Well, yeah, I
But
mean, I think
sometimes you got to evaluate the voice that is also giving you edification, and what they're coming from.
So can I take this in a different direction?
Yeah, go ahead.
rock and roll.
So when we talk about voices too, so I think that's super important, especially from an association standpoint.
What you guys said is important, but what I'm about
No,
to say
no. I
is
think it's
really
incredibly important. I think there's two sides of the coin though,
Yeah.
right? So I think like you talked about, there's certain levels of priority. In our pecking order, we talk about God, country, family, business, and one of those things is like there was remember a question I asked you guys. I was listening to something that once again Jordan Peterson was talking about, and he was talking about can a oh God, what's the proper word here? Can a man that is not dangerous be virtuous?
Oh.
And the idea behind that is no, you can't be virtuous if you're harmless. That's what I'm just looking for. If you're harmless, right? So if you haven't read the book Relentless, maybe put a couple other books in the mind bank first before you go into that one. It's a pretty strong book.
Is that different than the other bank?
There's two banks. There's certainly
one's a
two.
savings account.
There's certainly two banks.
Oh yeah,
but
three in some cases.
But to that point,
That's weird.
like the old adage, like there's always a black wolf and a white wolf, like we were talking about originally when we were talking about this episode. It's which one you feed more. It doesn't mean that there's no longer a black wolf or a dark wolf, whatever you want to call it. Every man has a dark side associated. And the reason that I brought up Relentless is because he does a great job of going into why the dark side makes a man virtuous. He doesn't talk about virtuous in that. Jordan Peterson kind of extrapolates on that a little bit. But I think that in order for you to be a good man, you have to be a dangerous man, to put it lightly. So there's there is a certain level of voice where it's like we talked about with boundaries. You know, at some level, you have to be capable of violence when necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that I say country, family business is because from a certain level, some of the most virtuous men that have ever walked on this ground that we call the United States today were super dangerous men. But they were virtuous because they decided to be dangerous when it was necessary to be dangerous. So they had two different voices, but they learned how to control it. That's what makes a dangerous man virtuous, and a weak man or I just said the word. I can't think of it. I don't know why I can't. Harmless
man.
That's just a weak word. I guess I keep forgetting it.
You're as you're talking about this, I don't know if you guys saw the comment we got from one of our haters, Bink Josie. I don't know if that's a they.
That seems like a pretty solid name.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Strong. Virtuous.
PragerU, and I hope this doesn't start playing out loud because I don't really want to record it, but PragerU is something I check out. That it is. I don't want to listen to you. Basically what happened is there was a confrontation on a plane, and a man stepped up and broke it up.
Yes.
They praised him for that.
Because she assaulted
They praised the man for stepping up and separating that. Mm. And basically the thing was, this is what America needs back. When men are willing to step up and stop shit like this.
Yep. Yes.
And literally they're getting bashed for that. Because I made the comment on there, whatever we said. I said exactly, this is why we started Shepherd's Men, to redefine masculinity and make it cool again. You know? Yep. And by cool again, we don't mean, hey, bro. Yeah. We mean cool again like it's okay to be a dude.
Right.
Yeah, it's
right?
100% acceptable and expected.
Yeah. Expected is probably even a better way to put it. And so, whatever the person, I don't even know. Binky something. Yeah. Where's my Binky? Said something about, just totally, joking and creating this this goofy masculine image that is wrong with society. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, you're trying to make cargo shorts cool again, and da-da-da-da-da. And then it went on to and now alcoholism. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, that's always the defense. Take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Well, on the extreme opposite end, right? So the masculinity is exactly what we're talking about. Like a guy walks into the house, he grabs a beer, beats on his chest for a minute, drinks all night long until he passes out, and the wife does all the stuff around the house.
See, that's what they're exposed to. That's not what it is meant to be a man.
Well, so that's what I don't think that. I
don't know if everybody's exposed to it.
Yeah, I don't know if that guy even believes
not all
that.
of them, but there might be. Yeah. But then there's also the hater group of men who that's all that they say. That's all that they do. It's kind of like denominations in Christianity. You got multiple denominations for a particular reason. Like I was raised up in a Baptist, and they are wholeheartedly no drinking. And majority of them,
when people are
either had alcoholism in their life, either themselves or through someone in their family. Yeah. And that's why they've chose and they kind of adhere to that religion or that doctrine because that's how they feel. They're like, okay, there it is. So then you have these other people that are pushing these same propaganda and agendas and saying men are bad and if you're masculine and all this other stuff, you shouldn't be that way. It's because they were exposed to the wrong way of how men were supposed to be.
Well, and I think, what it gets to now, like
the wrong
I think
voice.
JP was about to say too, is I don't even know that necessarily all these people have those experiences as much as they just want to be on the side of what's the cool thing to say now.
Yeah,
I want to make it, I want to villainize it because that will make me more acceptable with all my friends at Target.
Right. That's the popular opinion, which is weak as tap water, right? Yeah. As you would say, Cam. And on the flip side of it, if you go along with that and you go, you know what, you're right, that is a call for an individual to step up into an uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
Because that's why a lot of these men fight back on this stuff. A lot of the men fight back on this stuff because they don't want to step up. A lot of these men don't want to be in uncomfortable positions. They don't want to be, up late at night doing something or losing rest because they have to do this or they got to provide for their family or they got to make sure that, taking the high road and saying, listen, I'm going to be vulnerable in my relationship and stuff like that. And honey, you know what? You're right. Like I was wrong right there or whatever it may be, or raising your kids or being involved, being tired as shit when you get home from work and still being able to pour into your children and stuff like that. some of these people, like, and I don't care. You can say whatever you want to, but a lot of these people, I believe, are one, like you said, trying to be cool about it. I think there is a small portion that's like they grew up in a household where masculinity really was a turnoff to them because what they saw as masculinity was not true masculinity.
Right.
But a lot of them, they're threatened by that shit.
Yeah.
That's the last thing that I want is have to be the guy that steps up between some shit that's going on. I ain't trying to stand up.
I don't want to be called to action on
Did you
that.
see the way that girl was throwing punches at that flight attendant?
That was some serious slaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'd have knocked the glitter off my face.
Oh, she'd make me change my lipstick.
Well, here's another voice, your own voice. Are you speaking into yourself?
Yeah.
That I think personally, I think that's one of your most powerful voices because
it's the one you hear the most.
Yeah, you're programming yourself every single day, and what you program and what you say is what you're going to get. And if you want to achieve something, you have to speak out what you want. So
yeah, that's one of those. It's a whole different dynamic. When we talk about what voice you're listening to, you don't have a choice. You're listening to your voice
all the time.
So in that sense, it's more. I got to make sure I'm intentional about what I'm saying to myself. I can't say I'm not going to listen to myself because you are. You
can't.
That's like saying, don't think about an elephant. What are you thinking about? I'm picturing an elephant right now. Like it's just going to happen. But you have to decide, am I going to be the person that's going to intentionally speak to myself, as weird as that might sound to some people? Or am I going to be the person that just listens to myself that's on autopilot? Because autopilot you ain't going to land the plane.
Mm.
Dude, it's so funny because like today while I was doing, just recent, I was doing my workout. I was literally wanting to die because it started raining.
Actually ready to pass on to the next life.
It started raining. It was hot, and in most CrossFit gyms, there's no AC. Obviously, you're working out in the elements, kind of thing. And I'm talking about like I was taking breaths, and it was so humid and muggy you could chew the air, kind of thing. And it was like there was no breath getting, and every part of me was like, okay. Like, I want to be done. Like, I'm just going to, like, roll over right here and stuff like that. And I physically was, like, down on one knee, and I spoke out, like, out loud, like, dude, you're good. You're good. You're good. Breathe. You're good. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Like, and was telling myself that while I was sitting there, and there's probably some people that think I'm a psycho. But I was doing that. I wasn't yelling or anything like that. But I was like, dude, you're good. You're good. And it's amazing how that can change your mindset on. Because if you walk into it and you're like, oh, I'm dying, I'm dying, you will. You'll die. True. You'll gas out.
You guys were down for the Murph challenge that we did in our neighborhood, and this was a couple of weeks ago when this episode comes out. But it's the same. It was the same mentality. I mean, it was warm.
Yeah, it was hot.
It was a tough day.
Yeah, it was hot.
But there was a lot of there was a lot of self-talk. I mean, for me, I know, and I have no doubt for any. I was so impressed by the amount of people that participated. Number one,
that was awesome.
But everybody that participated finished.
Yep.
And not most, but little less than half had never done anything like that before, ever. Yeah. And they were they were getting assisted on the pull-ups, and some of the girls were doing push-ups on their knees, but they never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
And it was impressive to see and to know that there is that mental conversation, and sometimes it is audible. I know it was for me a couple times. Mine was I was a little more straightforward with myself than you were. I wasn't like, "Hey, let's go, champ." Yeah. I was like, "Come on, you pussy."
Yeah.
So whatever makes you move is fine as long as you understand that. I'm calling myself a pussy in the most edifying way possible. It's
because you got more in you.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
why you're doing it. Yeah.
I'm not beating myself up.
No,
if you don't hear that the same way, don't tell yourself that.
Right.
Tell yourself, something. Come on, sugar plum.
Well, that's one of the things that I was talking to a guy that'd been in our gym for a while, and my coach is pretty straightforward. He doesn't pull any punches, and he's not the let's go champ kind of guy. Like he is not that kind of guy. And I was talking to another guy that'd been coached with for years and stuff, and I was like, man, he's a tough one, isn't he? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, dude, I feel like he's on my ass all the time. Like there's not a whole lot of compliments come out of there. And he was like, did he call you a lady part? Yeah, actually he did. He was like, he likes you. I was like, oh really? And he said, cool. If he's calling you a lady part, he likes you. He said, when you need to start worrying is when he starts going, oh, it's okay, dude.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. It's okay.
He didn't care
it's
anymore.
Right. Yeah, he said that's when he doesn't see it. And the only reason I bring that up is because you made that comment about, you're, don't be a pussy,
Well,
kind of thing.
true.
Like you're a pussy.
And he probably knows you well enough to know what he can say to you that actually makes you better. So,
Right.
and again, this is a whole nother episode, whole nother conversation. I don't, call my 5-year-old a lady part,
Yeah.
Now my 15-year-old I have before. But also I'm just basing that on personalities too.
Right.
So you got to know what actually is effective.
Right.
Like if it still needs to be a positive voice, that positive voice might sound kind of negative when it's coming out.
Yeah.
But if the result is positive, that's what really matters.
It goes back to your dark side too, though. Like
Yeah.
if you know somebody has a dark side about them, and by dark side I mean they're capable of violence, they're capable of doing some bad things. Generally, those people they don't need rah speeches.
Mm-mm.
They need somebody to tell them they can't do shit.
Yeah.
They need somebody to come up there and
That's the whole reason my wife did the Murph is because our neighbor told her the day before that she wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, she's doing it now.
I was
and
there.
Sure enough,
I was
she
there.
did.
Yep.
And then your wife did just because
Yeah.
she couldn't be left out.
Yeah,
You
she's
know, like
I ain't gonna be shut
I
up.
ain't gonna watch.
Yeah. But that was. I mean, like all the Michael Jordan stories that have come out. Just since
gosh.
he's. Like the guy talking about there's 10 minutes left in the game. Michael Jordan had like 8 points and stuff like that. And one of these guys, there was a younger guy on their team. The Bulls were down by like 10 or something like that. And he goes up to him and he's like, what about that? Jordan started talking some kind of shit to Jordan. And he said, man, I looked at that motherfucker and I was like, dude, shut your mouth. 40 points later, the Bulls win. Michael Jordan scores 40 points and walked over to the bench 2 minutes before the game was over and said, shut up, bitch. And walked back over there.
Man, it's not like one time he did that. It was literally
with
him. It was like literally a trigger
Yeah.
or a switch that somebody flipped in him, and it was just like, well, that was stupid.
But see, that's where greatness can come from. That dark side. That's where like a virtuous individual, like Michael Jordan had that edge. Kobe Bryant had that edge, and he talks about that in
James
Relentless.
plays basketball.
Yeah, LeBron James is really good at soccer.
Yeah,
or he flops like he plays soccer, but. But it's the truth though. I mean, and that's what drives that edge. It's a great book. I mean, if you want to read it, you'll understand kind of where we're coming from on that. It's a really good part and a really good way to depict why that dark side is very important in a man. A dark side can be very detrimental if you don't have control of your dark side. You cheat on your wife because you have that. You look at other women and stuff like that, and you go act on that and stuff. But that's the fact of the matter. I mean, if we're being truthful, men, like you're not dead, right? Like you look at other women, you have other desires because you're a male and you're driven, by testosterone and all these different things. And some of that is dark. Some of it has to be controlled though. And that's what's important. And that's what makes, a strong male. The problem is we've kind of brought the dark side, I think, up and been like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Because it makes me feel good.
Well,
Lord.
I mean, divorces were not, like, and I'm not saying to stay in a bad situation if you're like suffering's a choice, like we talked about before. Pain's necessary. Suffering is a choice. It's your responsibility to work things out. If you can, you don't stay in a bad situation. But at the same time, at one point in time, that was not acceptable. You did everything you physically could to save your marriage,
Right?
Because it wasn't acceptable to society. Because it was your responsibility to control your dark side.
It goes back to the boundaries.
Yeah, it was your responsibility to do shit like that. Now it's acceptable, and it's just like, hey man, if you want something better, cut her off, man. Go get something else, kind of thing. And
I signed that prenup.
And to me,
That's what
like,
they told me. I had a person really tell me that. So you better make her sign a prenup. I'm like, what the fuck's a prenup? I'm not gonna do that because that's an out. That's an automatic. Like going into the relationship, that's an automatic out.
Yeah,
don't
you
work
left the
out.
back door open for sure.
I got a door open.
You know what my prenup was? I was rich and I made her buy.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up. We said we were gonna make this short, and we didn't, but it was important.
But we did.
It was freaking good, and it'll help you. It'll help us continually. So, to the listeners, just pay attention to what voices you're listening to. Be intentional about it. Make sure you're speaking to yourself well, uplifting yourself, challenging yourself at the same time. Recognize those voices that make you hum, and recognize those voices that make you go, huh? What's that old song? Things that make you go, So just, I think maybe get back to, it goes back to the whole meditation and prayer time and quiet time. I think if you really start centering yourself and feeling what you're hearing, and I don't mean emotionally feeling it, I mean actually consciously feeling it, then it's pretty self-explanatory, I believe. And you'll know what's good input and what's bad input. So, and then make sure you're passing that on to the next generation too. So check us out on our websites, on our platforms, social media. Go subscribe. Please go subscribe to the different channels so we can continue to grow this platform. Tell your friends about it. Tell other men about it. Let's do this together. Let's literally have a movement through the nation and through the world so we can bring men back and make masculinity cool again. You've been a part of the movement.